Hey friends, it's Awkwardly Random with Cinthia and Michelle, where we talk about random topics.
Anything and everything awkward is on the table, so let's dive right in.
Hey y'all.
Hi.
Am I too close
Welcome
to the mic?
back.
We good? Testing.
You're
testing.
You're a little bit closer, but it's fine.
Okay.
That's good,
Welcome
yeah.
back. Sorry,
Welcome
y'all.
back
To another episode of Awkwardly Random.
with Cinthia and Michelle. You
Come
said
on,
that
Michelle.
so
You gotta
fast.
get faster with those pauses.
I know. For dramatic effect.
Oh yeah.
Welcome back.
We're
Another
building
week.
anticipation, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Another week. We're approaching Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, whatever you want to call it.
I know.
But we wanted to make sure we're still consistent with our episodes.
Yes.
So we are here. We are showing up. And we're doing another episode for y'all.
Yes. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Hopefully y'all take something from this. I think this is also another. We try to pick topics that are meaningful to us, and hopefully they are meaningful to you and relevant and important.
Yes.
At least to us, that's we are really intentional with the topics that we pick.
Yes,
for
I
each
agree.
episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna be talking about conflict,
fighting, arguing, whatever you want to call it, creative discussions.
I kind of like that. Okay.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
So let's get into it. But first, let's start with our random question.
Mm-hmm.
You want to ask it or you want me to ask it?
All right. Random question/questions. How do you flirt? And can you provide any tips for flirting?
How do I flirt? In general, I give lots of compliments.
Okay.
However,
in general, as in like when you're flirting, or in general as a person?
In general as a person. And I feel like sometimes that can be construed as flirting. And sometimes I'm trying to get like, if it's a person that I like romantically or I'm interested in, I give those compliments to kind of try to, I don't know, get them to like me back, or I don't even know. But I don't know. I don't really have like an intentional or like a strategy of flirting. Sometimes I don't know that I'm flirting when I'm flirting. Does that make sense?
Ooh, so you're a flirt without knowing.
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
You?
Hey, any tips? Okay, I guess I can go and then we can provide tips.
Okay.
How do I flirt? I feel like I'm more, I try to use my humor. But even though I don't think I'm funny, I don't know. I feel like I'm really sarcastic. I'm sarcastic.
Oh, you're definitely sarcastic.
I try to make the other person laugh, or I compliment them. I'm nice. And then, or I like try to find an excuse to like touch their arm or hand, because that's what I used to do with Jesus when I like first talked to him.
Wow.
Yeah, but then not do it in an overbearing, like, let me touch you type of way. You know what I mean?
You're
just
not
like in a subtle way, like in a, like if he'll like try to tell me something, I'll like lean in and be like, what?
Wow. Like, I didn't hear you. Hold on, let me get a little bit closer. What did you say?
Yeah, like that.
Tell me to my ear. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's how you flirt. I never knew that.
Yeah, like little subtle ways where not so like overbearing or like too much like into that. And giving little hints in there, I think. I don't know.
So would that be one of your tips, to be more subtle about it?
Yeah, I feel like that's a good way to take the lead on it, but also not because I think it's good to take the lead if you like someone. Like, you know, you can try feel it out. I think that's the way to feel it out, like being really subtle with things, feeling it out, see if they like you too, and maybe they'll reciprocate it. And if they reciprocate it, then you'll feel the vibes.
I just to add on to that, I try to now like pay more attention to like the other person and what they're giving me. Well, I guess not really now, but like when I was more into that flirting stage, like are going on dates, first dates or whatnot, feel out their vibe. What are they telling you? What are they giving you with their facial expressions, their eye contact, their cues, their physical cues, their verbal cues, whether they're complimenting you. Sometimes, although what happens sometimes is like I'll overthink it or overanalyze it and think that they're flirting when they're really not. So, just, be mindful of that too. But just be genuine about it. Just be yourself, as cheesy as that sounds. And I think you'll get that vibe, that frequency, the energy, the aura from the other person.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it necessarily has to be like, how people do pickup lines like that. You can do that, but you don't have to. I think those are a little bit like corny in my opinion. I think you can flirt in different ways, like even just by like, it doesn't have to be a pickup line. It could just be about anything. And like you said, feeling it out, the vibes, the aura. But yeah,
I'm wondering how other people flirt. What does that look like?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't. Yeah, I don't know. I would want to see what other people think about this topic, because people have different ways of doing it.
And different ways of receiving it. Sometimes I can be really awkward when someone tries to flirt with me.
Yeah, I hate
depending on what they do and what they say.
I hate when it's really like overt, like very like you kind of feel like you're being catcalled.
It's like off-putting.
Yeah, that's really terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't be creepy.
Yeah, don't be creepy.
That's another tip.
And when I mean touching, like don't touch in like inappropriate places and like, or maybe just don't touch anybody at all. Like, you know what I mean?
Ask for the consent.
Yes.
Ask them if it's okay. And
because like when I mentioned that, I don't want people to misconstrue that like I'm just like I was touching Jesus everywhere. Like that's not what I was doing.
I wasn't picturing that, but thank you for clarifying for the other people.
Yeah, because I feel like, oh, Michelle likes like Michelle touched his arm and like that gives me permission to touch someplace else. No, it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Consent, y'all. Consent. Cool. I like that question. That was a good question.
Yeah, I hope that made sense. We were just like very like, oh.
I think we were all over the place because, well, in general, for me, I'm all over the place when it comes to flirting. So therefore, my answer is all over the place. And sometimes I don't know when someone is flirting with me. And then when someone is flirting with me, if someone isn't, then I think sometimes they are. And when they are, sometimes I think they're not. Whatever.
So it's hard for you to pick up. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's hard for me to pick up on people's cues.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I feel like I understand that. I feel like some people are hard to pick up on cues because I feel like just because you're nice to someone doesn't mean you're flirting.
Yes.
And I feel like, especially either when I was in law school or like in general, like there's a lot of people who are single in law school, but then other people who are in relationships like how I was. But just because if I was working in a group with somebody or like partnered up with somebody, like I would just be nice and respectful.
Right.
I hope nobody took that as like me being flirty, because it was not that. And I feel like certain people misconstrue it. And then I'll like sneak in like, oh yeah, me and my partner are gonna, like I would mention that because I feel like certain people would get the wrong idea. I don't know why. Like just because people are nice or like respectful, that doesn't mean like they're flirting. So
yeah. I have this perception that everybody's nice, everybody's kind until they prove otherwise. And so whoever shoots me a compliment, thank you, but that's, then I don't, but if someone is trying to insinuate something else, something more, you kind of have to give me more. Otherwise I won't get it. Sometimes it's a matter of like being clear with your intention and making sure the other person's getting, you're getting your message across clearly.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, we're not flirting.
I hope that made sense. So we're not. You probably learned nothing from this,
except that we're all over the place with flirting.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, let's get to our main topic, because I'm really interested in talking about this. Like, I'm excited for this and kind of nervous.
Ooh, I'm nervous too.
conflict makes me anxious, but I think that's a human thing, and we're conditioned also to avoid conflict or to see conflict as this really bad thing. Why are we talking about conflict, Mish?
We're talking about conflict because, like you said, we all go through it at different stages of our lives and in different environments of our lives. And that could look like in a range. And I do really feel like depending on like how we were raised, like that could have an effect on how you deal with conflict now as an adult. So it is super important to talk about. I always like talking about conflict. I have dealt with a lot of conflict when I was younger, but then now in my job, dealing with other people's type of conflicts or conflicts, it can be any kind of conflict, right? So that's part of my job. So that's different in itself. So let's get into it. Beans, how do you handle conflict?
Oh my gosh. This is a straightforward but not straightforward question, because like you said, conflict,
it's a huge question.
It's a really big question. And I think for me it changed and it continues to evolve as I learn and experience different things, but I used to really avoid it, and so that would be me handling it, is to not handle it. I just wouldn't even want to address it. I'd rather bite my tongue than make someone else feel uncomfortable. So I would rather just not even talk about it, or I would just kind of avoid it. So like with things, for example, like, if someone, like a roommate, for example, if they don't do the dishes, or if they don't, put up their end of the bargain in terms of our roommate relationship, then I'd rather just like do the dishes myself and whatever, like, even though I know they're supposed to help with the dishes.
Are you talking about me when we used to live together?
No, this is just like an example.
I'm just kidding.
No. With you, let me think. What was it? No, honestly, I mean, I feel like you and I, like, you're very clear about like, no, we agreed to this, so I'm gonna stick to it, and if I can't stick to it, I will let you know. Like, you're very like straight up about that, versus some other people are more like, I know we agree to this, but there's exceptions and stuff, but then they don't communicate it, but you're very much like, and even like you catch me because you'll be like, no, but we said this, we agreed to this. And I'm like, oh shit, we did.
But I'm also very flexible, I think.
Yes, no, you are, but it's more of like you communicate that, and other people have trouble with communicating that, such as myself. How I handle it now is more of, I'd rather us talk about it and talk through it and go through the uncomfortable than not, and let it kind of build up and consume either you or me. I'd rather it just like, let's just figure this out so that we can move on with our lives, even though it's really uncomfortable. So it's still really hard. It's not easy, but I'd rather talk about it, because I feel like the way you handle conflict is kind of helps you build a framework for your relationships. I think that's what helps relationships grow. So I gave you a long-winded answer, but let me know, that makes sense. How do you handle conflict?
How do I handle conflict? Woo!
Let me know, Mish. Let me know.
Well, when I think of conflict, I think that there's a range. I feel like I always say this in all the episodes.
Spectrum.
Like, you're not gonna agree with everybody. Not everyone is gonna like you in life. There's gonna be some sort of conflict, either small or big, at every point in your life, I think. So for me, it depends. I think when I was younger, I was a lot more combative. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of comfortable with conflict, if I'm honest, because I think that, like I said, I think everyone will have their own opinions based on different things. And I'm not really afraid to like voice my opinions based on facts, or sometimes just based on my opinions. So I used to be a lot more combative when I was younger. And then I think that as I'm getting older, I'm learning to choose my battles You know what I mean? Like strategically, like what makes sense, like what am I putting effort into and what am I not? Like what is really worth it and what isn't?
Right.
But what I would not stand for is like someone like being disrespectful to me or anything like that. That's when like I'm coming at you if you're coming at me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't know, but not like I'm gonna come at you, but you know what I mean? As in like when I say that, I feel like people are going to take this wrong. I'm just saying like you can stand up for yourself if someone is coming at you. But I would do it in a different way than what I used to do when I was younger. You know what I mean?
So what you're not saying, I'm trying to clarify this. What you're not saying is you disrespect me, so I'm going to disrespect you. Is that what you're saying?
No,
you're not saying?
No.
Okay. So if someone is coming at you disrespectfully, you're gonna defend yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And still, but in a respectful manner, even though they're being disrespectful to you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And when I was younger, thanks for helping me clarify. And when I was younger, it was more like, if you're coming at me, I'm coming at you type of thing. And I feel like we all kind of go through that. I don't know, listeners, if you're like, if you understand what I'm coming, like where I'm coming from. And do you remember when we were younger? I don't know if you, where you grew up, people would say this, but they would be like, "You mad? You mad?"
Yeah.
Like when something would happen, like, "You mad?" And normally you'd be like, "Nah, I'm not mad," but I would be like, "Yeah, I'm mad," and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like I've done a lot of growth in terms of like how I communicate, what I choose to put effort into, depending on what the conflict is. And yeah, I think it depends for me with who who the conflict is with on how I'm going to deal with it. But I feel like now that I'm older and can manage my emotions better, I can better react how I want to react. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And think through things, what I want to say before I actually say things. But so when I was younger and like in college, like, yeah, I was a little bit different.
But overall, you've typically been comfortable with conflict, rather, even when you were younger. It's more of just how you handle the conflict that's changed.
I mean, it's not like fun.
Not saying you seek it, or that you find pleasure in it, but more so that you are more okay with handling
it's
the
more
conflict.
Like inevitable in my opinion. Like I feel like I've like, it'll happen at some capacity. So like, how am I going to handle it? So I'm kind of in the mindset of like, it's going to happen, and it'll continue to happen, but just how am I going to handle it? So although it's not like comfortable for me, it's more like the idea of it is comfortable because I know it's going to happen, but not the actual conflict. Me being in a conflict with someone doesn't necessarily mean that I'm okay with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But you're just not afraid to like go through it because it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that was my thing, is like, I was trying my hardest not to let it happen because again, I didn't want to hurt somebody's, like, I just didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings or have them be uncomfortable. And I try to dig deeper as to why. And I thought about how maybe deep down unconsciously, I was afraid for what that was going to do for our relationship. Whether at the end of like, if we have this argument or this conflict or this disagreement, are you going to see me differently? Am I going to see you differently? Is this going to change? So I'd rather just stay where we're at than, so that's why I think deep down, maybe that's what was happening and still is happening. Like I care deeply for the people in my life and I want to keep them in my life. But then I realized, like, if the person that I care about is not willing to kind of share the space with the conflict and like really talk about it and stuff
listen,
like that, and listen and all these kinds of things and put the effort to work things out, then I kind of have to reevaluate the relationship, which is like also true. Really hard.
Yeah. And for me, like how I was saying, like getting older, I feel like I've had to bite my tongue more. You know what I mean? Because I don't know why. I think I don't know why. I feel like I've just grown.
Maybe this is part of the choose your battles thing,
but at the same time, like, because I was so different, like I would always say something in some sort of conflict. So now that I'm older and I choose to not say something, like it like kills me inside. Well, not kills me, but like it just like bothers me, you know what I mean? Because there's like a time and a place where you say certain things, in my opinion, for me specifically. So when I don't say what's it like affects me. So I have to I'm still figuring it out, you know what I mean? And I feel like yeah, that's something that I'm working on, because I don't know. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, and there's and not everyone addresses conflict the same way. So maybe you'd want to talk about it and say things a certain way at a certain time, but the other person might not. So then there's conflict in even that as well.
Yeah.
Are you the type of person to want to, or have you ever like felt the need to have the last word?
Yes, all the time. Even no, that used to be me. Not to this day, but I used to. Yeah. Well, I guess my sisters would say that to this day. Yeah.
Well, you're definitely not alone.
Like I
feel
said,
like everybody has that at some point.
Yes, but like I said, it depends on who the conflict is with.
Right.
Depending on that is how I usually act, which I don't think is the best way to go through things in life. But yeah, I would say that I used to be a lot like that. But yeah, what about you?
Nah.
Not even with your siblings?
I mean, yes.
Because you're the oldest. Like, I feel like for sure.
Yes. I mean, yes, of course, at some various points in my life, but in general,
or like with cousins.
Not really.
Really?
I mean, I never really got into arguments with my cousins, honestly.
Really? Oh my goodness.
And like,
me and my cousins.
And I think I've said this before, but Rebecca, my roommate of 3-4 years now, we haven't had a single argument or a single form of conflict whatsoever.
Oh my goodness.
So
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I also think that we're both Geminis, and I don't know if that has to do with it, but we and just like the way we carry ourselves and the way we see and perceive things, very similar. We see them similarly in the fact that we typically do not want to or like to engage in conflict. We're both I think we're both pretty sensitive with that kind of stuff, and just would rather we really do not like making others feel uncomfortable. And towards each other either, but we communicate our needs and everything, and it's worked out. And if we ever do get into some sort of conflict, I have all the faith that we're gonna work it out. It's no problem.
For sure. Yes. Yes, you will.
But in general, I would say 70-80% of the time, at least now, I don't really care to have the last word. Because if it's not meaningful or there's no intention to it, if it's just more of like me, just the pettiness, just me, right? Like wanting to have that last word just because it takes a lot of energy. It's very draining.
It does. Yeah.
And it doesn't serve a purpose.
Yep.
You know, and so no.
Yeah. And I think that like I said before, I was definitely like that when I was younger. And when you think about conflict, the way that I think about conflict now versus like when I did younger was like, what is the point? Like, is the point of this argument or fight or conflict, is the point for it to be like a solution, or is the point for it to be like breaking, like just not, you know what I mean? Like when I think of conflict now, and I think it was in college where my mind shifted, where I was like, okay, what is the point of this argument? Or like, what is the point that we're like, why are we arguing? What is happening? Like, and what is the solution? Like, and me working towards that instead of me thinking that someone, like we're just arguing, you know what I mean? And I think that's where my mind shifted in college, was like, okay, what is the point? Where are we going? All right, let's get there together. And if you don't want to, like you said, if someone is not willing to like talk, acknowledge what you're saying, listen to what you're saying, and like do all that, if they're not willing to do that, then there really is no point, because then why are we wasting our time? So that's when I had the shift. And I definitely think having the last word is not really conducive to anything, unless you just want to be petty and feel better about yourself maybe for that little second. But yeah.
And you're right, it's a little second, it's very brief. After that, whatever, it's over, and then what?
Yeah, like maybe you didn't even solve anything.
Right,
like you're gonna have to re-talk again and rehash everything and be like, why did you get the last word? And then you're gonna have to apologize, and then think it through.
So when you were saying about you want to talk about things at a certain time and say things a certain way, made me think of our biggest fight that we've had, that you and I have had. And we don't really argue, y'all. Like, we really don't. And if we do, it's not even an argument. It's more of, I disagree and this is what I think. Okay, let me hear what you think. But we hear each other out. We have different perspectives, and that's okay.
Agree to disagree
on things that are okay to agree to disagree on, because there are things
like little small things,
things, right?
Like, where are we going to eat, or like, what do you like to do, or like, like stuff like that,
really small things. Our biggest fight. So
traitor, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
Nah, I'm joking. That
goes back to the dream I had where I left Michelle. I tell you, man. No, I'm just teasing. So when we were planning this episode, we were talking about, should we tell this story? Should we not? First of all,
it's gonna be juicy.
Like, what happened? What do you remember? Because this was in college. From my memory, this was our senior year in college, and the reason I say that is because I remember we were living in the Red House.
I love that Red House.
The Red House. It was the 5 of us. I think we've talked about the Red House before.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was our senior year of college. So that's why I remember, because I remember we hashed everything out in my room. You came to my room. But when we were planning this out, y'all, we could not remember for the life of us. Neither of us could remember the details of the story. So we're gonna share.
I would agree.
We're just gonna share what we remember and give you the main gist of just like what we want for y'all at least to get out of this, right? This is not for us to share like exactly personal things, just to share them, but more so because I think the message is important, where we both had different perceptions of the argument, and you wanted to talk about it a certain time versus I wanted to talk about it at a different time, and there was conflict there.
And I think the biggest takeaway, I think, would be that people have different styles and ways that they go through conflict or process conflict, and then heal through conflict, right? So I guess we can talk about it, like the general stuff, because like I said, we don't remember the specific details, right? But we can talk about it and go through it. I remember, I don't know how to say this, but we were in college, senior year. We were at a club, and then Beans, do you want to take it away from there? We'll jump in.
Setting up the scene. That's important.
Okay, it was dark. I think there was like several lights flashing here and there, very loud music.
It was really crowded.
I'm sure we both have already been drinking. I mean, we're over 21. We're at a club, a dance club, and then what? And
honestly, we
take it away
probably. So we probably had some alcohol in our system. We weren't drunk though. I do remember that we weren't like
we weren't
crazy intoxicated. Jesus, your boyfriend, was visiting that weekend from Minnesota.
He was a conflict manager.
So that's important. That was an important detail because he is an important part of the story. So how do y'all, when we were planning this, we didn't even know exactly how to explain the story because there's so many details here and there that we don't remember. What I remember is that I was talking to somebody who I considered a friend at the time, and I didn't know the specifics of the relationship that Michelle had with that person. So I didn't know whether they were or were not friends, but I knew that they knew each other. I just didn't know the extent of that relationship.
You didn't know?
I didn't know the extent of the relationship.
Okay, I believe you.
I knew there was maybe some tension. I'm not really sure. Do you want to give your side of that?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't know what you knew.
Okay.
And I didn't expect you to be honest, because I don't like mixing friendships. I think whoever is friends with whoever is fine. And you know what I mean? I don't care who's friends with who, as long as you're good, I'm good. But anyways, this person didn't like me. And I wasn't a big fan of them either, because the way that I was treated by them and some of their friend group for no reason. I just wasn't liked by them. I didn't do anything to them. So I just thought that it was like more of an acquaintance relationship, and I thought we were kind of, you know, that acquaintance / friends relationship. So I thought we were like respectful and cordial, but because I wasn't really in their friend group anymore, or acquaintance group, whatever, I was treated not nicely by her and some of her other friends. And so that really hurt me. And I also thought that was really fake. And so I don't know why to this day they don't like me. I didn't do anything, and because they didn't like me, obviously I wasn't gonna pretend or want to be their friend.
Right.
So that was basically the background of it. But I'm the type of person where I think it's important to be respectful of one another, but not being fake about it at the same time. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's basically the background of it.
So cut to the club when you got those flashing lights, like Michelle described. The music is loud. Michelle and I were standing next to each other. This place was very popular when we were in college. They had like Latin night, Thursday nights, or whatever night, I can't remember. And we went, and it was really crowded, and we were standing right next to each other. And I saw the person, and I greeted this person because of course I was going to greet the person. And so we just,
and I was fine with it. I was
Yes.
was just standing right next to you, I think. And I was talking with Jesus or dancing with Jesus. That's all I remember.
Yeah. So Michelle was standing right next to me, and I was talking with the person. And I don't know exactly what they said. I was trying to
have
remember,
no idea.
But this person had said something to me, and she said your name. I do remember somehow telling her, hey, you can leave Michelle out of this. You know, like I think I was trying to defend you, but respectfully, in a way that, like, I still respected this person and I still considered this person my friend. But obviously I was much closer to you. So I told her, hey, let's just stop that, and then continued the conversation with whatever else you were doing. I think you heard your name maybe, and you can maybe share this next part if you'd like.
I don't, because I don't stay up at night thinking about this. Like, this is a long ass time ago.
No,
I don't really
this
care.
is why we don't remember this shit.
So I don't remember. I just know that I think I heard my name, and I don't know what was said, but I just know that I don't know if I heard something too, and I overheard what that person said. So I just decided to step in. And I don't know what I said to this person too. And then I just know that I was upset.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then after that,
I feel like I can't really give that much detail because I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then after that, I feel like from what I remember, I just know that I was upset at what she said. And then also I feel like, and then I got upset at you because I felt like you didn't say anything or like didn't defend me, because as a friend, I thought you would do that for me.
Yes.
But then I honestly didn't. I don't know if I heard you defend me to her because I just don't remember. And also we were in the club and it was really loud. But at the club, when she walked away, I do remember that I said, why didn't you say anything? And like, why didn't you stand up for me? And then I don't know if you said anything. And then I just got upset and then kind of just like, well, whatever. because I don't know if you said anything back to me. I don't know. And this was at the club, right? Music is blasting. I don't know if we had a conversation, but I just know I said that. And then it wasn't resolved. And then we kind of just ignored each other
the rest
that
of
night.
the night.
Yeah.
Oh my
Sorry,
God.
Jesus. It must have been really awkward for you.
Yeah, I felt so bad. I felt so bad. But yes, that everything you're saying is how I recalled it too. I remember you did come up to me and you said something to me. I, for some reason, feel like I said I did defend you, but I didn't want to fully talk about it because we were at the club with a whole bunch of people. I could barely hear you. And I felt like this could be resolved in my head at the time, right? I'm thinking, okay, we'll just talk about it when we get home, right? I didn't think it was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
But the rest of the night, I could feel the tension. I could feel that you were upset with me.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I mean, I wasn't upset with you. You didn't do anything. So, but then I started getting upset at you over time as the night went on because of the way you approached that the night. Whereas, you know, in the sense that you were kind of ignoring, you weren't like engaging with me, because we usually do. I mean, when we go out, like, you know, we go out
it's
together.
fun. Yeah, we're talking,
we're
dancing. Yeah,
the rest of the night we didn't dance at all together. I think this is what I remember too. We were outside of this one building. We were trying to get into like a house party or something. We were waiting at the door. This is what I remember. And you and I were on the steps, you on one side, me on the other side. Jesus was in the middle. And we were just not talking to each other at all. And Jesus, I remember this like so clearly. I remember Jesus trying to like crack jokes and like,
he's so nice,
get us to talk, you know, trying to, you know, diminish a little bit of that tension, at least for the night. Cause you know, he was here for the weekend and also trying to have a good time. Like, why? You know, of course. So we were just not having it. So I got increasingly upset over the night because I got that vibe from you. And so we were just both upset with each other the rest of the night. So then cut to act 3 of this story. We get to the house.
Act 3.
Yeah, this is part 3. We get to the house and you and Jesus go to your room and I go upstairs, right? All the bedrooms are upstairs. I knock on your door and you open and I ask you like, hey, are we good? Do you want to talk? You know, what's going on? And you told me, and this is from what I remember. Again, my memory could be way off. I feel this was a long time ago, y'all. So, you know, this is just from what our memories are telling us right now.
Yeah.
I remember you saying, I don't want to talk to you right now. And you close the door. And I'm like, okay.
Sounds like something I would do. I don't remember, but it sounds like
you didn't slam the door. You weren't like rude or anything. You were just saying, I don't want to talk right now. Close the door. Like, okay. All right. So then I go to my room. And
and mind you, I think I started crying
while you were already in your room.
And Jesus, and I think that's why Jesus said you should go talk to Beans, because I was crying. I felt like you should have known that I was upset and I was hurt by what happened. And I didn't think that I was the one that should be talking to you. I felt like you should have already just like, I don't know. The way that I'm thinking and how I used to think, I think that's what I was thinking. And so I'm not saying that that's what you should have done. I also think I should have said to you like, hey, what happened hurt me, and explain why it hurt me, because I was mostly mad at her. Like and I don't really know what you said, or if I did, I don't remember now. I should have voiced it to you then, that I was just like hurt and upset by what was happening, by what she said. And like, because I did have what hurt me more was because of the past with that other girl. And because I felt like I had a friendship with one of her other friends where I felt like I was kind of treated badly for no reason, and was the underlying feeling of everything. You know what I mean? And so for me, I thought that you should have known that, and it was my mistake for assuming that you should have known when I should have said, because how would you have known if I didn't tell you? You know what I mean? But yes, Jesus, when I was in the room, I think I was crying, and Jesus was like, you should talk to Beans. You should talk it out. And I was like, okay. I went, and then I knocked on your door, and then we sat on your bed. I don't remember what we said, but I feel like I explained to you like kind of a little bit of the backstory with that other girl, because I don't think I had really fully told you. I think because I'm the type of person, like I said, I don't want to mess up other people's friendships. I think people should have their own friendships. And if you're cool with them, like whatever, like that's your friendship, and I don't want anything to do with that type of thing, right? So I was not one to like sabotage other people's friendships. Right. So I think that's when I told you like what had happened and why I felt hurt. And then we were both crying.
Oh my gosh,
because I explained to you, I was like, that's why I was hurt, and that's why I thought you should have defended me because you're my friend,
right?
And then you were like, I did defend you. I think that's what you said, And then we started crying, and then like it was fixed.
The end.
The end.
That's like legit what I remember. I remember you telling me how you felt, and then I was like, okay, but hear me out. I did defend you. I did say something. You didn't hear me, or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what you told me.
But we both, yes, I was crying. And I don't cry, y'all. I was crying. I was like actually crying. And also partly I felt guilty. I don't think I ever told you this, Michelle, but I was partially crying because I felt bad of how I made you feel.
Oh, so, really? Oh.
Yeah, I was, because this is what I mean by conflict is I don't like hurting people's feelings.
Yeah.
And I felt bad that I had hurt you with what I did. So it was just a mix of emotions. And yes, and then I saw you crying, and then I was crying, and it was just a cry fest in my room, y'all.
Yeah.
So we apologized to each other. We both apologized. We cleared it up. We
and like even though like
yes,
our feelings were hurt, and like we had different styles of it. And I also like, I think that like what you said, one of the biggest takeaways was just how we dealt with the conflict. Because I am the type of person where if I'm arguing with someone, or like there's a conflict, like a personal one, I want to get it fixed right then and there. Like I don't want to go any like moving forward feeling like this disgusting feeling of like, oh, I'm in a conflict with someone. Like I want to fix it right away. And if I don't fix it right away, then whatever I'm feeling kind of festers. So for me, I was angry. So I'm going to continue to be angry until I get to talk about it. At least back then, that's how I dealt with my emotions. So I wanted to fix it right away. But then, you know, looking back at it now, like the club was probably not the best way to like fix this. And at the same time, like what had happened in the club, music and everything, like you can't really hear. But yeah, I definitely think that I liked how we worked it out. Like we were able to talk, like we didn't scream at each other. We didn't like curse at each other. We like talked and listened to each other and acknowledged our feelings. And then, we got through it.
And I remember us communicating how we want to approach this if it happens again. I remember you telling me, you know, next time just let me know, or like something like that, or I said, you know, let me know next time when you are feeling that way, you know, or whatever. And you did. It was just that we were in the club, so with loud music and people everywhere and all this kind of stuff. But I do remember, like I don't remember exactly what we said, but I do remember feeling like, okay, this isn't going to happen again, because now we communicated our needs to each other. You know, next time let me know this, or next time I will communicate this to you, and blah blah blah. So and then it never happened again. To this day, we haven't had like a huge fight like that. And we just in general, like I said, we don't argue like that. We communicate now better than I think than we did before.
Yep.
And that's the story, y'all.
That's the story of our biggest argument.
Drama, I tell you.
Drama. Yeah. Drama.
I know.
By people who didn't like me. I don't know why. If you want to call on the podcast and talk about it, let's talk about it. I'm just kidding.
Y'all heard it here first.
I didn't like all the unnecessary drama in college because I just didn't know where it was coming from.
So another thing with conflict, I know we talked about the choose your battle thing, but also another important element of conflict, I feel, and we've talked about this as you're planning, is how someone says something versus what they say.
Yeah.
How much does it matter? How important is it, the way someone says something versus what they say? Does one outweigh the other? Does it depend? What do you think?
I think both matter, if I'm completely honest. I really do think both matter. Like what you say, because you can be really mean, like, oh, you fucking bitch, and be so nice about it. You know what I mean? Like, just because you say it all nicely, oh, you fucking bitch, you're the best.
Oh, hell no.
Like that. Like I'm just thinking
of,
yeah, you know what? That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's a great example, like Mean Girls, in terms of like you can say really mean things, but saying them in a nice way doesn't make it okay either.
So condescending.
So yeah, so I think both. I think both are super important, I think. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think both are very important. I think I've been starting to be much more intentional of how and how I say things and what I say. So both are important. But like, for example, I try not to attack the person, but more so confront what they're saying. You know, you know, or what they're doing. So like, I go again to the dishes thing, for example. You never do the dishes, you're so lazy, why don't you, you know, like all these things, versus you could be like, you know, let me know if there's a week where, you know, your schedule is really busy and you aren't able to do the dishes, I'll do them, just let me know so that I know, right? Or do you want to change our schedule or whatever, you know, like, or you know, try to come up, what I try to do is approach it in a more solutions driven type of framework. And I try not to blame the person or attack the person. So I think it's how and what you say. It's both.
I
It's a mix
agree.
of both.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. Yeah.
But I think part of me is also like, when I am really angry or annoyed or something in the moment, sometimes I'll say something I don't mean because I'm so emotionally driven in the moment. So
yeah,
I think as I'm reflecting, I'd be the type of person to be like, let me calm down. Let me take a breather. Let me take a quick break. Let me walk around the block and we'll come back and talk about it. You know, otherwise I'm just going to spit things out that I don't mean. And I'm going to say things in a really mean way. And I'd rather not do that.
Yeah, that's really good that you're self-aware, and that's super important. For me, I think it's mostly, I think it's both, but for me, it's mostly like how I say things. Because I can easily say something really nice, like use the correct words, but say it like with an attitude, or say it in a way that's not so nice.
Give us an example, Mish.
Like my tone, I've always gotten this, even when I was little up to now. Like people are like, Michelle, you're saying the words, but you are not saying it with the tone. And so it still comes off as mean. And I'm like, well, I'm saying what you know what I mean? Because I'd for some people, especially for me, I'm not trying to like hurt anyone's feelings. Maybe it's just more direct. But I also need to acknowledge that like tones and how people perceive them could be different. But at the same time, like acknowledging that, you know what I mean? Acknowledging when someone says like, oh, how you said that to me was not like, you hurt my feelings, you know what I mean? So like taking that into account, and just because, so that's what I'm saying, like both things matter when you say something. Because like for example, like with Jesus, like if I'm in a rush or doing something, or like I need to leave, I'll be like, oh, can you please wash the dishes when I, like before I get back, but because I'm rushing and doing all these things, I'm like, it may come off as like kind of rude if I'm like, can you please, or like, you know what I mean, like when if you say that, can you please wash the dishes, blah blah blah, like it can be rude if you do it with with a little bit of an attitude, even though it's not intended to be with an attitude. So for me, it's more acknowledging my tone and how I say things to people. And I don't know if it's like my career and my background where I feel like I have to say things directly where I'm not necessarily meaning to sound a certain way. I don't know. Or maybe it's just, I feel like people have always commented on my tone.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like because I'm like a woman and I shouldn't have this tone, or like just my tone in general is like I have to acknowledge it a little bit more. I don't know what it is, but I've gotten this comment from various people throughout my life.
So I think society too, right? Like you're a woman and you should be cheery and giddy and all these things, and you're not all the time that way. And you shouldn't have to be, and you shouldn't be. I think also when I first met you, I thought honestly, I thought the same thing.
Really?
I would misconstrue your tone for being like angry at me. Like I thought I had hurt you in some way. And I know and like I learned that I did. Like I know you so well now, Michelle. I know your tones. It's fine. Like it's whatever. It doesn't phase me. It used to.
I think you're one of the people who's told me that. Like you're just like, Michelle, like, can I just tell you something? And then I was like, yeah, what's up? And then you were like, wait, I remember having a conversation with you saying like, when you say things to people, like you're saying the right things, but your tone is coming off a little rude, or like it's coming off a little strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But again, like that isn't your responsibility. Like you're not responsible with how people perceive what you're saying. You know, you're saying the right thing. You're not being rude. I think in general, like, okay, so my voice, I tend to go up really high. That's just how I talk. I use a lot of facial expressions. I talk with my hands, like, and it's very clear on the screen right now. Like when you talk, you're more chill, more reserved. Even your voice is lower. Your face is not as high affect as mine is. And I'm much more animated. And that's just how I am in general. Right. So we're just very different in how we present like how we communicate. But we're both neither of us are saying mean things. We're both saying, you know, just saying stuff. We're not saying rude things. I think your tone in general is pretty low.
Yeah.
Even when you're excited, sometimes your tone is low. I know. You have a lower voice range. That's it. I feel like that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like sometimes I can work on that, but at the same time, like you said, I'm not really responsible for how other people really take it. I feel like people who know me and know like my intentions know where I'm coming from.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like if people do hurt your feelings, you should say something.
Yes.
Because I don't know. I don't want to come off as like, oh, this is how I am, and I'm just gonna like, I'm a mean person. Like I don't want it to sound like that because I don't think that I am. But I don't want to say but that's it. I'm just kidding.
No, it's tricky because you don't owe them anything. At the same time, it's good to be mindful of how others perceive what you're saying and doing. So I don't know. It's tricky. It's a tricky balance, but I don't think you're mean. I don't think you're rude. Well, at least I don't, right? You're not a mean person.
I'm just socially awkward sometimes too. I don't know. What it is.
Aren't we all, man? Aren't we all?
But the point is that I have gotten comments, not just from Beans, but from other people that my tone is sometimes something that is not taken nicely by other people. But I don't think that necessarily means that I don't care. But I think that's just how I am. I think I'm more quiet and reserved, and like you said, my tone, I have a lower voice tone than most people. I don't know what it is, but I'm a nice person. If I don't like, I feel like if I don't like you, you will know.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that. Like, if I don't like you, you will know I don't like you, because I will probably say something. But if I am generally like just being nice in general, I'm just more of a chill person. I'm not really super animated or loud or anything like that. But
yeah. And also something that I actually learned from you is that you don't like when you are in conflict with someone, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier when we were talking, you are arguing with the argument. You're not like, even if your tone is lower or whatever, you're disagreeing with the argument, with the point that was made. You're not attacking the person. You're not being mean to the person themselves. You're more of like, I disagree, or this is what I think, right? But you're not like, I don't even think you should even have to say that you're a nice person. Like,
I know, I'm just like, nobody would say that.
You don't have to justify that you're a nice person. You're a nice person, you know. It's just like, that's the way you address conflict, is you address the conflict. You address what is being said.
Yeah.
And you're not attacking the person. You're not in any way trying to disrespect them. You know, and I feel like some people, maybe people can take it personally, or the tone can make all the difference for somebody. And I think it's important to acknowledge how that people perceive things differently, and people take conflict differently and approach it differently.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So with that, what is something that you're working on in terms of handling conflict or navigating it in your life?
What am I working on? I would say my tone, and then just being, especially with my personal life, more aware of other people's forms. I feel like I've already been aware of other people's ways of dealing with conflict. So just making sure that other people know that I'm okay with their way of dealing with conflict. Yeah, probably that.
You're powerful.
Thanks. Yeah, at least for me, I think those would be the things that I'm working on. What about you?
I am trying to not avoid conflict as much as I used to. I think I've gotten better at it. Obviously, like I said earlier, I would rather talk it out than not. But it's still really, really hard. And I don't think that's ever going to get easy, honestly, because conflict in general is just uncomfortable. But I also want to do better in communicating my needs for the sake of myself. So even within addressing the conflict, being clear about, I'm upset. This is why I'm upset. These are my needs right now. And then fully listening to what the other person is saying. I feel like oftentimes, and I know I'm not the only one, oftentimes what happens is when someone is talking, you're already curating your response. You're already thinking about what you're going to say next. And then you miss certain things of what the person just told you 2 seconds ago. So I'm trying really hard to fully get what the person is saying before I even respond or come up with a response. I don't do this always, but I'm trying. So like if I don't understand what you're saying, I'll try to repeat it back to you and clarify. And I'll try to keep doing that until I repeat exactly what you said, you know? And then you feel like I got you, I understood you. And then I'll give you my response.
Yeah, for sure.
I give you a lot. I'm trying to work on a lot of things.
Yeah. I feel that. I understand. I know what you mean. Yeah, I definitely think that. Yeah, I definitely think in different areas of my life I could be better at when it comes to dealing with conflict, especially. It's tough. I think for me, it's mostly my relationship with my sisters, where I feel like I kind of revert back only with my sisters. I don't know why it's just with my sisters. We kind of revert, not always. I'm not saying that I always argue with my sisters. I mean, not all the time, but when we do argue, we kind of revert to our old ways,
right?
All of us. So that's something that even though we might revert back to the old ways, now that I've grown and gotten older, realizing that you can still have conflict and apologize and acknowledge either what they did wrong, but also what you did wrong. And then what I like about us now is that we can actually listen to each other without, like how you were saying before, when we were younger, we would always just think about what we're going to say next instead of actually listening to the other person. And now that we're older, it's nice that we can actually acknowledge our thoughts and our emotions, but then also apologize if somebody's feelings were hurt. And so that's something that I have been able to develop with my sisters, especially like when we get into arguments and, like you said, maybe say things that we don't necessarily mean. Being able to having my sisters either call me out or I call them out, and then being able to acknowledge like there that they shouldn't have said what they said, or I shouldn't have said what I said, and apologize. I think that's great, because before, how we used to argue, we would just argue and then like 5 minutes later, like it would be fine, but we wouldn't actually talk about it. Versus now as adults, like we can actually talk about what had happened and then acknowledge everything. And then if someone's feelings were hurt, apologize, and then we can move forward.
That made me think, you know why I think conflict is so hard? Because there's a lot going on when you're in conflict with somebody. You are trying to listen to what the other person is telling you. You are trying to stay regulated with your own emotions as you're processing what the other person is telling you. Then you have to process what they said and then create a response based on what you heard. And you have this back and forth, and you're constantly trying to stay regulated, because what happens is, when you were younger, and still to this day sometimes, like, we're very emotion driven creatures. Like, when we feel a strong emotion, we are going to kind of act in the way that emotion is influencing us. So then when we're really, really angry, we might say things we don't mean. We might say things really loudly. We might yell at the person. We might swear at the person, whatever, right? So like, it's really hard to be in conflict with somebody, because you have to manage all of that at the same time, simultaneously. And it just reminded me, because of the way you described it with your sisters. I feel like I was the same way with my sister when I was younger. Is we would fight a lot, and it was for small things, like who was like, we used to share a bed. Who's gonna make the bed in the morning? Like small shit. Or she would, like, we had different ways of like organizing the room, and like I didn't like how she did it, she didn't like how I did it, whatever. Small shit, really, really small shit. But we would get really angry, our emotions would kind of build up, and then we'd yell at each other, and it was just not pretty. Pretty. And then we wouldn't really listen to each other. We would kind of talk over one another, and it was just hard. And you have a lot to balance. It's like a juggling act. You're juggling all these things at the same time as you're in conflict with the other person. So
it's hard.
It's a constant. We say this about a lot of things. It's a constant work in progress. I think I don't have a specific goal in terms of where I want to be when it comes to handling conflict, but more so I'm just seeking to do better each time.
I agree. And I think not to confuse this with like policing people's feelings or reactions, because I think people are entitled to feel however they want to feel. But I also don't want to necessarily tell someone how to react in this podcast or in general. You know what I mean? I feel like, especially for like women of color, people are always policing how we react to things, especially with things that are affecting us. And I hate that shit. Like, I hate it so much. And you do not tell someone how to act when someone is like, when something is affecting them and you have no idea what it feels like. So I would say that that's just something that I wanted to put out there, because I know we're talking about right now how to deal with conflict or manage conflict. it may be different areas of life, but when someone there's a conflict and you feel like it's directed at you, at your identity, at like something like that is at a whole different level, and that is also very hard to deal with. So yeah,
valid.
Putting that out there.
Yeah, and in no way at all in this entire episode did we say you should be doing this.
Yeah,
we're talking about like, what are we working on? What would we like to see? What, you know, within ourselves. Why is it hard? Why is conflict so hard because of this and this and this? But we're not in no way saying do this or
yeah,
do that,
like this is the
know?
right way to react. This is a wrong. Like we're not saying any of that, but we're just sharing like how we deal with conflict and how we've dealt with conflict and how we want to work towards dealing with conflict. Yeah, and we know that it's not easy to, depending on who it is, where it's at, and like what the topic is. Like I think all of that depends on like how you're going to react or like what you're going to do or what happens, or like I think it can be hard to like manage, but I think all of those two things and all different factors play into conflicts and how you deal with them, and it's just going through them, and that will like help you, I guess, or help you manage them, help you figure out how to come to a resolution or not come to a resolution. But I think conflicts are inevitable is my thing.
It's inevitable, and it looks different with each relationship. So I think that's also why there's no like specific magic potion to this or right answer, because every relationship is different, and every person, people process conflict and deal with conflict in different ways. So I would say something to be mindful of. If you're up for it, Michelle, we could do a part 2 of this conversation because there's so much more still to talk about.
I know. Yes.
Like boundaries and apologizing and saying no. Like I would love to dig deeper into those things too. It kind of all fall into the umbrella of conflict. So maybe we'll do a part 2 to this conversation. But for now, we're going to have to sign off. I hope y'all took something out of this. If anything, now you know that Michelle and I have gotten into a huge fight before. But we resolved it. We're still here today.
We're here. You can do it if you want to work through it. If you don't want to work through it, that's okay too. Yeah, I think
and conflict is hard.
Conflict is hard. It's okay. Take your time.
Process, listen. But also validate how you experience it and validate others. Because we're all human.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That was it. That was it.
That was it, y'all. Thank you for listening, for tuning in.
Yep.
Let us know what y'all
don't
thought
come
about
at us.
this.
Don't come at us.
If you do, it will we'll
come at you back, basically. I'm just kidding.
We'll process what you say. We'll listen.
We'll like your comment for the engagement.
There you go. Exactly.
And then we'll respond in a nice, timely fashion. Just kidding. This is fun though.
I love.
We definitely should talk about it more. So follow us, subscribe,
stay tuned,
stay tuned for next week's. And yeah, that was it.
We'll catch you at the next one, y'all. Peace out.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.